Yeah,
Halloween doors, the film man gonna push the button?
It's been on.
Oh, darn. All those jokes we told.
Sorry, I've learned that if I don't put it on, I miss the beginning. Yes, ma'am.
Ralph, do you want to give
Yeah,
us
I'll give a quick summary.
Yeah.
I'm on the Lakeway Elementary Advisory Facilities Committee, LEPAC. And what we were established this year to try and come up with some idea of what to do with Lakeway Elementary School. Because there are 6 different engineering there's 3 different engineering firms that put out 6 different reports that that school needs some significant improvements, major improvements. There was 21 areas of improvements with 80 individual items noticed that have to be done in the school. So we've been meeting now for over 7 weeks, ever since July. Meeting every other week since July. And last night we presented our recommendation to the school board. Our recommendation by LEPAC was to build a new elementary school. Now, we're the 3rd committee since 2008 that has come up with that same conclusion. And we used a lot of our own information. We went out and researched information. We analyzed information. We looked at a lot of different things to come to that conclusion. Mainly those 6 reports that show what all the deficiencies are. So last night we presented it. We said, basically what we've asked them to do is build a new elementary school. We recommend that they build a new elementary school. However, not precisely all at once, because the state school aid, there is no state school aid right now at all, but it may be coming back in 2022. All right? And if it comes back, it's going to come back at 55%. So if we're asking $18 million for a new elementary school and we can get $9 million of it paid for by the state, it's well worth waiting that 2 years. But in order to qualify for the state aid in 2 years, you have to have a plan in place. You have to have the land, you've got to have the facilities in place, you have to have engineering studies, you've got to have all the land studies, everything has to be in place so that if you apply for the grant and you're awarded that grant, you're construction ready.
Shovel ready.
You're shovel ready. You have to be shovel ready to qualify for any new state aid that's coming up. So our recommendation to the board was to build a new elementary school, but this year put a warrant article in to purchase the land and prepare some of the electrical and the water systems through it. Start some of the preparation on it. Also to do a detailed analysis of the building. What's the building going to look like? What's the plans going to be? Okay, we have to have all those details in place. So that's what we recommend to the school board, to do that this year. So we recommended 2 warrant articles. One, to purchase of the land. The second one, to do the detailed studies, construction engineering studies that are going to be required by state aid if it comes open in 21 or 22.
So, just going forward in our meeting sequence here, I heard you speak that the committee is going to meet tomorrow night to start looking at the sites, which site selection. So obviously there's still some work that needs to be done by the committee. And if you're trying to bring 2 warrant articles forward at some time, I'm just looking at our meetings and saying we have 3 meetings scheduled with the school. However, I don't think you'll have your work done by that time. So maybe we can set aside a Thursday in December sometime for you to bring us up to speed, because we're looking at a sequence here. You have to have, when is the budget hearing? I mean, I don't know if that's been posted yet for the school and for the town, but that's usually mid-January. So by that time, you know, you need to have your ducks in a row. So hopefully you'll have part of the ducks in a row sometime in mid-December to bring it back to the committee so we can hear. Because what is going to happen is if you bring those warrant articles forward, our vote goes on it. So we need to hear that information, and this committee needs to vote on it, one way or the other. If we do not vote, it will show up as a no vote on the ballot.
Right,
So
exactly.
I'm just trying to kind of line the
Right.
meeting sequence up.
And-
And so keep us in mind and keep us posted,
We
please.
were gonna have a meeting tomorrow night, but we decided to start again tomorrow night, right off the bat, because we got 2 different land options right now we're looking at. Unless we find another 20 acres in town somewhere that's up for sale, we've got Greenwood Acres and we've got, the convent, up on top of the back of the convent. Those are the only 2 areas that are really buildable for any type of a school building or this size building.
Right,
So, and we're gonna start the discussions on those tomorrow night. We've got Warren Street Architects are gonna be there again. They were there last night, they're gonna be there tomorrow night. And they're the ones who gotta come up with a detailed plan of the school, what it's gonna cost, what's gonna be involved with it. And we're hoping to get those done within the next few weeks.
Okay, so just when you're far enough along to present to us,
Yeah.
we'll set up a Thursday, because so far we only have Thursdays in November scheduled for the school, but that definitely is a topic, and I'm sure that the other topic that we need to hear from the school will be the negotiated contracts if they do come to an agreement. So anyhow, keep us posted, would you
Yeah,
please?
yeah.
Okay.
And we should know more about what's going on with that agreement, I'm hoping. I haven't heard anything on that.
But
You know,
that's
I've been
okay.
worrying about the school building, but we should know something maybe by Thursday night, when we meet with the, school board Thursday night.
Thanks for all your work on that.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your work on that.
A lot of time gone into this
I know.
project so far.
How many were on the committee?
9 of us.
Yeah,
There were 9 of us. And all different backgrounds. Tom Clary, some of you know Tom Clary, Stan Fillion,
Yeah,
Linda Massimilia was on our committee.
yeah.
So we have a strong background on what we're looking at.
So, moving forward, do you have the dates?
Well, I have a date that the last day the selectmen can publish a notice of the time and place and subject of the public hearing for bonds and notes over 100,000 is January 8th.
That they can post.
Post a notice.
And then you can have the meeting following that.
Yeah, within 15 days, or at least 15 days afterwards.
After that, okay.
Within
So-
15 days after.
Okay.
We all got Heather's minutes.
Mhm.
Have everybody a chance to review or not review or?
Yeah, we can make a motion to accept all 3 weeks. Don't we have to accept all 3 weeks? So what dates are those, Heather? Those are October 6th, 13th,
16th, 23rd.
or 16th. and
16th, 23rd, and 30th.
And the only thing, Heather, I noticed on the 30th, it says next budget meeting,
I-
November 6th, right? Which, so remember 15th, which actually would be, but it should have been today.
It should have been today, so that would be the only,
Oh, yeah.
the only change, I guess.
Amendment,
Sorry.
minor
Yeah,
amendment.
minor. I was picking up on that too, so that's why I sent out the
I'll just
email.
send you this version.
Thank you,
Heather.
Heather.
Take it more as a little jab in the ribs.
No, no problem. I will. So should I bring the revised one for the next meeting?
I think we did.
No, I think we're
Okay.
good. We're good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that little notation having been made, do I have a motion to accept Heather's minutes as she's presented through last week's meeting?
So,
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, we say aye. Opposed, nay?
So that, she does that just to make sure we.
We're actually looking at it. Say yes.
Yes. I think it's a test.
And thank you again, because we know it's a labor of love, for sure.
We have Pathways here, and they're going to present. So far, it's our only agency.
Yeah.
As I said, the chamber was scheduled, but maybe they'll be arriving a little bit later. I will move, so you all can come up here, and if you would introduce yourselves. And I'll move down to the end. You can pull up another chair.
Addressable.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
us that you've done that before.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming. We're handing out those on it.
Yes, I have some, just so that you can follow along, I've prepared a presentation.
Chair, whatever you need to. I really don't have to say that.
All right, if you want to go ahead and get started.
Sure.
The floor is
Okay.
yours.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for allowing us to be here this afternoon to tell you a little bit about Pathways Pregnancy Care Center. My name is Joselle Presby, I'm on the board of directors.
I'm Angel Marshall, Interim Executive Director.
I'm Steve Noyes. I'm the treasurer.
No relation.
Okay. No,
Well, I mean,
I'm Karen Noyes.
nice to meet you, Karen. We've
next,
never seen each other.
next week you bring your genealogical list and we'll do the test.
So I've prepared just a brief overview of some information for you about Pathways Pregnancy Care Center. I've also included a brochure, and we'll start off by just presenting our mission statement, and that is that Pathways exists to support, educate, and equip men and women to make life-affirming choices related to pregnancy, parenting, relationships, and God. All of our services are completely free of charge, and they're confidential. With the exception of the $1,500 that the town of Littleton supported us with through a warrant article last year, all of our support is from our donors and local churches who provide material donations for us and give us financial support. So we are completely supported by our donors. We will help anybody who walks through the door, no matter what their situation is, whether they're a man or a woman, no matter what their race or creed is. We'll help anyone. They don't just have to be pregnant. They don't just have to be a parent. They can be anyone. Many of our services will help lots of different people, and so anybody who walks in the door, we will try to help. It doesn't matter who they are. We do have 3 staff members. Our executive director, who can't be here tonight, as Angel mentioned, she's filling in as interim director for now. A client service director and an administrative assistant who comes in for just a few hours a week to help us with the accounting. A lion's share of the work is done by our wonderful trained volunteers. We have multiple volunteers who come in on a weekly basis. Pathways serves families, couples, mothers, fathers, babies both born and preborn. Children, we serve multiple communities, and like I said before, we will help anyone who is in need. Pathways is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We did indeed just pass an audit that was conducted by New Hampshire Employment Security on September 2018, and Pathways does not perform or refer for abortions. Now, if you look at page 2 and 3, I have outlined a synopsis of the services that we do provide. Our services primarily consist of material assistance. We have support services, education services, and referrals for local resources. A material assistance program is available monthly for all of our clients. We have this beautiful baby boutique that is stocked full of everything you need if you're going to be a parent. Diapers, all sizes, wipes, formula, clothing, both new and used, for all seasons and sizes from infant all the way up to 5T, which will fit an average 5-year-old. We have lots of accessories like baby furniture, for example, high chairs, bouncy seats, bassinets, strollers. We do provide new car seats, baby toys and books, and for mothers, new mothers, rocking chairs, boppy pillows, anything a new mother would need. One of the wonderful things about our material assistance program is the Learn to Earn program. And this is a program where parents who take part in our education services can then earn extra points to spend in the baby boutique. Points that are in addition to the material assistance they get on a monthly basis. This is a very special and important program because it encourages and motivates parents to further their education, to learn more about parenting and about life. And the Learn to Earn program rewards these parents' good efforts. So our material assistance program isn't just giving handouts, it's encouraging these clients and these parents to make them, to help themselves and better themselves. Our support services include self-administered pregnancy tests, options counseling. You can look, I had a few extra issues. You can look at one of the tools we use for options counseling, the Before You Decide magazine. That you can take home and look through. That provides an expectant parent with a lot of information, scientific information, and because an informed decision is the best kind of decision. So we give our clients as much information as we possibly can. We also offer mentoring. We have self-help programs. Clients can participate in life renewal studies. They can get help in avoiding emotionally destructive relationships. And also anyone who's been touched by abortion in their past life, in the past, we can help them out as well. A service that a new service that we've recently been providing we've hosted court-ordered supervised visits where we had some clients whose visitation with their child was court-ordered to be supervised. So Pathways provided a safe place for that supervised visit to occur. Moving on to page 3. Please stop me if you have any questions. I'm trying to keep this so that I don't take up too much of your time. But please stop me. One of our biggest services is our education services. We offer prenatal development classes. We offer a number of parenting education classes. Parents can learn about nutrition for their children, effective discipline. They can learn about the first years of their children's lives, safety in the home, age-appropriate play. We offer this great class called Life 101, where we help clients build skills in budgeting, managing a checking account, obtaining employment. We'll help them prepare a resume. We'll give them tips on filling out job applications. We'll give them tips about effective interviewing for a job. We'll help them out with household chore management, give them skills in economical and efficient grocery shopping. We also offer Bible studies to anyone who's interested in learning more about the Bible. One of the really wonderful education classes we do offer is called Tot Time Together. And this is an opportunity for parents to bring their children to the center with other parents and their children. And they have a gathering where they'll start off with an arts and crafts project, and they'll sing songs, and they'll read stories, and they'll share a healthy snack. And it's all centered around a theme that the volunteers are so creative and they put together. And this is an opportunity for young children to learn, to socialize with other children their ages, and to have fun, a lot like preschool. It's also an opportunity for mothers to connect with other moms, to have some grown-up interaction. And it's a chance for parents to practice being the parent teachers that they are. And a lot of times our clients tell us that they like to come to Pathways because they feel comfortable there, because they know that they won't be judged based on their situation. And so they really feel comfortable coming, and these taught time together sessions are just a joy-filled time. If you flip to page 6 in the back of this packet, you'll see I've got some pictures from taught time. And on page 6, the children, this was a taught time in the middle of the summer on a very hot day. And one of our crafty volunteers froze these trays of water with these plastic toys in the trays. And the children had to manipulate and melt their ice in order to get at those little toys, those little prizes in the trays. And they had a lot of fun doing this, and it was quite, it helped them cool off for the day as well. If you go to page 7, they'll see some children and a couple of moms, an angel here in the background. They made butterflies out of coffee filters that they dyed with food coloring, and they put together in a butterfly shape with pipe cleaners. If you turn the page to page 8, you'll see a mom and a child at the table enjoying a healthy snack, and there's Angel holding somebody's child, and a dad giving his baby a healthy snack too. And on the bottom of page 8, you can just see how proud these children are of some of the creations they make during taught time. So one of the last services that I'll talk about that we offer are referrals for local resources. We do help our clients if they're in need of housing. We will put them in touch with the right people. If they need food, we'll put them in touch with food pantries. We'll tell them where they can get a free ultrasound. We'll put them in touch with the Department of Health and Human Services, Tri-County CAP, Homeless Outreach, Town Assistance, or WIC. We know the local resources that are available to them, and we put them in touch. So moving on to page 4, I've put together here a summary of the services we've provided in 2018 up until the middle of October. So this year we've had 42 different clients. Those clients visited the center 250 times. Of those visits, 84 were for parenting education classes, 18 were for prenatal education classes, 51 were for taught time together sessions, 3 options counseling visits, 30 mentoring visits, 6 visits for life renewal studies, 3 court-ordered supervised visits were hosted, and 55 of those visits were for material assistance only. What makes Pathways different is not only are all of our services free, and that we will help anyone in need, but we serve our clients with love and compassion. We really do, we truly care about our clients. And Pathways is a safe place for them. Like I said before, we provide an environment that's non-judgmental, where clients feel free and comfortable to come. And we are non-for-profit, and we're constantly creating new services to meet our clients' needs.
What's the amount of your request?
$2,500. And our budget is very small, so $2,500 would make a big... No, I did not include a budget.
Okay.
But I'm glad you asked, because our budget is very small, and $2,500 would make a big, big difference to us, and would really help us out a tremendous amount. So, like I said, all of our services are free, but if we were to assign a dollar value to some of them, it might give you just an idea of how much help we are providing in any given year. When clients come to the center, we give them a package of 24 diapers and a package of wipes. And if you were to assign a value to this, it would cost about $10. You multiply that by 250 visits, is $2,500. We gave away 125 cans of formula this year at $18 per can. That's $2,250. Used clothes at $2 an item for 7 items per client per visit, $3,500. New clothes valued at $12 per item and 2 items per client per visit, that's $6,000. And baby accessories at $15 each, and we gave about 30 items away this year, $450. So by the end of 2018, we will have provided over $15,000 worth of material needs to our clients. And material assistance is just a very small part of what Pathways does. We could think about what is the value of the education services that we provide. And it's hard to arrive at an answer for this, but if you think about the families that we support who might otherwise require assistance from the town, or if you think about the parents that we teach whose children will be entering the public school system, and if you think about those that we prepare who might otherwise be unemployed, the value is very, very great.
The geographic area that you service?
We serve
Grafton,
Grafton
Coas.
County and Coas.
There's more. We the furthest one away that we have lives in West Georgetown.
But basically,
but it's
Coas
mainly
and-
Coas and Grafton.
and Grafton.
Yeah, some Carroll as well, but mainly Coas and Grafton.
They say on your application to the town that there's Littleton plus 13 other communities. So will you be placing a petition warrant article on their ballots and asking for funding, or how do you figure out who to ask?
This is only the second time we've requested a warrant article. The first time was last year when we requested from Littleton, and we have not requested from other towns yet. But historically, we've been 100% supported by our donors. But we figured we'd start with Littleton just because of the population of Littleton, and we are in Littleton. And many of our clients, I don't know what percent of our clients are from Littleton, but a large percent is from
Do you know how many
Littleton.
clients of the 42 are from Littleton?
I would feel safe to say at least 25.
25?
At least 25.
Almost half?
At least half, yes.
So your client demographics on your petition here don't match up with quite with that. They said there were 67 Littleton clients. And
I apologize for that. Frank, the executive director, and I have both been working on that. And I think he may have been a little bit confused as to when he filled that portion.
Okay. And then it also says in here that the total agency budget for the application year is $75,000. So I was just wondering, you know, we provide some of the funding through the petition warrant article, obviously not a lot, $1,500 last year. So how is the other funding
Gotten?
Yeah.
Donors and churches.
Fundraisers. yeah.
Fundraisers, yeah.
We have an annual banquet in the spring each year, which brings in, I would say, the bulk of our resources for the year. A number of those individuals that donate to us do so on sort of a sustaining basis. So each month they provide us with donations.
What was your annual budget? What did you spend in, you're on a fiscal year or a calendar year?
We're on a fiscal year, I believe. Yeah.
So what was your budget? What did you spend in this current fiscal year up to date? Do you know?
I don't at this point.
If I had to guess, 40?
Well,
40 to 50?
on your form right here that was submitted to the town, it says that you had 52,500 as a budget. And so that was the other reason why I was asking why the $75,000 was put on the front sheet for your annual budget. So it seems like you may be ramping up a little bit to try to cover some new services or
Exactly.
different things.
So far, because we do have 3 new programs that are in addition.
3 music programs?
3 new programs. Yeah.
So I diligently have read this just because you have diligently filled it out. So,
Right.
it's very important. This is the first year that we have really asked for a financial package to be given to the town, and we're following basically the Grafton County procedure and their format. And for petition warrant articles through the years, it's morphed a zillion different ways. At one time, anybody could put a petition warrant article on the ballot and request money. It could be for fireworks in Woodsville. Had nothing to do with us. And finally, the select board refined it a little bit, and they're still refining it. And now the financial application is also requested and is given to the town and shared with the committee members here. So anyways.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if it's appropriate, we can talk to the bookkeeper and get those completely exact from her. That may have been an estimate. So she would be more than willing to get that straightened out if need be.
Right, and I know everything's well-intentioned. It's just nice to get everything kind of in order there. So.
The other thing is, you've got to move forward on petitioning the other towns. Because Littleton, you're located in Littleton, but the taxpayers of Littleton shouldn't be the only ones supporting all these other towns that you've got listed in here also.
Sure.
So you need to move forward on that. You didn't do it last year, you didn't do it this year. You're showing a total expenses for the year of $46,690, and you took in $52,500. But $2,500 of that's coming from Littleton taxpayers. And I don't see on your numbers where Littleton has the majority of clients. Probably does, because of where you're located, but it doesn't really show that. And those are the kind of details we need. And we also need you to come back next year and say, if you come back next year, and say, we petitioned 8 towns out of 8 that we've got clients in for support. Because we shouldn't be the only taxpayers in the North Country, if you're covering the North Country, that are helping to contribute.
It's reasonable.
And you have time to petition. You have until, I think it's January 8th, to petition
The other towns.
the other towns.
Now, when you say Carroll, Grafton and Coa, so, I mean, would Colebrook, if you would, be on your map as far as an active?
Approximately 2 from Colebrook, yes.
Okay, so I mean, and somehow these other communities know that your services are available, but the services generally are provided here in Littleton.
They're always provided.
That's right. So if somebody from Colebrook is going to be helped, they're going to come here. If somebody from Berlin, a mile and a Gorham, they would come here. Right. And that would be the continued plan, if you would, or?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, never can tell. Obviously, you might branch out.
So far, yes.
Well, historically too, we've had a site in Berlin
We have.
as well.
Okay.
So,
It is no longer, but we did
yeah.
previously have a site there. So they now come to the Littleton Center from there.
Because I would imagine that just travel must be a challenge too for
It can
people,
be.
so that probably having more than one site would probably be beneficial.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How many years has Pathways been 501c3? How long has Pathways
Since
been?
1996.
Thank you.
96.
96.
And that was the founding year too?
It was.
When you say clients, is that like the mother, or does that include children?
Only the mother.
Only
The mother or the father or the caretaker, yes.
Right.
So there could be 100, it could be 50 kids in addition to this.
Absolutely.
Oh, more than that probably. yes.
Sure, I would think so.
Absolutely,
One
yes.
family unit.
One
Right.
unit,
Right.
yes.
And you're located on 70 Ready Street.
Reddington
Is that
Street,
in the
yes.
Elevate Church?
Yes,
Yeah.
in that building, yes.
Do you have any
This is-
plans to apply for any grant funding in the future?
Yes, yes. We're struggling because our executive director is
Yeah.
having,
Some difficulties.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But yes, absolutely, we have some grants in mind and other plans.
And you have a good volunteer base
Absolutely.
of 25 people, 10 people?
We have probably about 10
Okay.
total, and four that come all the time.
Any other staff members besides these three? These are the staff members?
Those are the
These are the prisoners.
three paid positions.
And do you have a training program for new volunteers?
Absolutely.
On site or in-house?
In-house.
And your hours are 9 to 4, so do families come all the hours, or do you have certain programs that start at 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock?
So the only thing that's really scheduled all the time is Tot Time Together, which is the play group. And it runs approximately 6 weeks, sometimes 8. And then around Christmas time, we can really shorten it up to 2 or 3 because everyone's so busy. But that is set. Other than that, if we have a big parenting group or any kind of recovery group that we do, that would be set. Other than that, it's individual. If a client comes in, they would generally come at the same time, but that's kind of how.
Is this 12 months a year? Is this 12 months a year?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much.
Just one more. The 2,500 you're requesting, according to your application here, is for baby boutiques.
Yeah, for
So the whole
materials.
$2,500 is going to be used for baby
For
boutiques.
materials to go
Diapers,
into
wipes, clothing, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Baby equipment, car seats.
Thank you very much, we appreciate it. There's a
Thank
lot of good work being done in our
And thank you for what you
communities.
do, and just for coming.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for the materials.
So Diane, there'll be no chambers or?
I guess not.
Okay.
We may be voting, who knows?
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Signatures for you that we have.
I don't, you need these, right, the signatures?
Yes.
Okay.
Gave it to the wrong person.
Sorry, it's okay. That's all
You
right.
gave it a response.
Good thing I just didn't take them home with me, right?
Do you have another book? Before you decide,
I
book?
don't,
You don't?
You can have this one. I already looked through most of it if someone needs it.
Thank you.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
guys.
Have a nice evening.
Have a wonderful evening.
Karen, and then you're the docket.
Yes. The town manager will not be here because of a family emergency. I'm not sure. He felt that I could handle it.
No surprise there, so, okay.
So, I came to you today to propose a budget that's been reviewed by the selectmen.
And this is the same one
That's
you
the
gave us
same
last
one
week?
that I gave you last week. I have posed a lot of questions about the default to DRA, to our attorney, to New Hampshire Municipal Association, to try to get a uniform answer from each one of them before I do anything with the default budget.
In other words, you've taken them to task.
I have listed a pile of questions just to make sure that what I'm reading and what we give you is the best information that we can give you, and according to them, what the rules say. Because the rules have changed, as you see from last week's handout. So I'm not touching the default budget and making any changes until I hear back and get a majority of them with the same answers. And I review it with the town manager.
I actually read that over, and if any of you haven't yet, go ahead and do that. It's pretty interesting.
And there was a version that came up in the school too, right?
Yeah, and it's slightly it's formatted differently.
This is the
So-
actual rules from the state of New Hampshire. They're 12 pages long, I can copy any of them that anybody might want. The version that I gave you is a narrowed down version that New Hampshire Municipal Association gave.
I think Steve, superintendent, I never know how to say his last name. Nihilus. He sent us a digitized version, so I will get that out to all of you. It is it's a lot of reading. I mean, I think there's like 25 pages.
So that's even longer.
Yeah. So I'm going to get the
Well, it is a
digitized version of the default regulations for the schools to all of you. So.
And I don't want to know theirs. I have enough to deal with ours.
But it's the same.
It should be the same. Should be
I mean, the laws.
identical
Yeah.
to what the default
It's just the
budget is for
verbiage that
us.
they may have put to it or
Or and
explained it.
the RSA that it might relate to.
Yeah, but it's same RSA or no?
I don't know
I
for
don't
sure.
know. I'll have to check that out.
I know that this is town related because even in the paperwork, it does say the official ballot referendum SB2 towns, but it does not say schools, so.
Yeah, I will get that out to you. I think it's formatted different and it's from the school attorneys. So it's probably additional information in there as well.
But all coming from the same piece of legislation?
I believe so.
I would think. I would think it's putting it down too.
Okay, so I'm going to start on the executive budget,
So
which if you don't have your handout from last week, I'm happy I've got an extra copy here.
So we're moving to page.
It's page 6, I'm sorry.
I have an extra copy here too, I think.
I'll take it back just in case
Okay, good.
somebody's missing it next week.
Yeah.
Thank you. So under the proposed proposed budget, we have identified what items that are being adjusted from the default. So we have in the permanent salaries, we have a 3% increase for non-union employees with the exception of the town manager. In the contract with him, he would be getting a 4.5% increase. We have an increase in the professional services or grant match because we're trying to attract more money and we need to come up with, even if it's $2,000 more, sometimes that's something that we need to put up in order to grab a grant. And for example, the grant at the Opera House, which is going to be approved by the selectmen to accept, we have to put up $2,000, which we do have some money in the budget to be able to do that. But to get $20,000 for $2,000 match, that's very reasonable. We're saving the taxpayers money when we can improve things for a smaller amount of money. And even with improving the lighting down there, it should help with the electrical bill. Because if we've been running the
More
old
efficient, yeah.
lights, theatrical lights and stage lights, having the newer lights should be more efficient. So we move on to the elections. We've included a 3% increase for the town clerk positions and the assistant town clerk. The part-time positions. We've reduced the mileage because she has a town clerk assistant that has some training, so she's not needing to go to the training like she had been this last year. We've got some changes in the data processing. We're looking to do a different type of credit card processing so that they will actually have a machine right there that they're able to run the credit cards through. We have some dog license lookup software that's been added in here, and we're hoping to split this with the police department. It's to be able for the police department to look up when they find a stray dog or a dog with tags, to be able to find out who it belongs to. We're also looking to get 2 signature pads for data processing, and this is to process the credit cards or debit cards that might be coming in. We've got an increase in election supplies of $50. And we all know supplies are going up a little bit here and there.
Go back to the credit card or the debit card. Most merchants, when their customers use that, they have to pay a fee.
Yes, the fee has to be paid by the person coming in and using the card.
So you
But we need
pass
the
it along.
software, we need the signature pad to do that.
Oh, I totally understand that. I was just trying to figure
We
out
pass
who
that along.
pass it
yes.
along. Okay.
Well, interestingly enough, the state of New Hampshire doesn't charge. They do it like a merchant would where you.
Huh. Okay.
So we have an increase in, a reduction in postage. And that's because she is using email a lot more in reminders, in vehicle reminders, anything she can use the email for, she's using.
And we're continuing to
Yes.
build that base
Yes,
all the time.
we are. We are. As in the default budget, we have a reduction in poll watchers. So the budget for the election, town clerk budget, the difference between the proposed and last year's approved is $18,219. It's a 10.8% difference. The difference between the proposed and the default is $3,142. It's a 1.71% difference. Moving on to tax collecting. The only difference between the proposed and the default is a 3% non-union increase. The difference between 2019 proposed and 2018 approved is $6,711, 9% increase. The difference between the 2019 proposed and the default is $1,335. It's a 2% difference. In financial administration, we have 3% non-union increase. There's no other changes all the way down through this budget. It's a reduction from 2018 approved of $13,714, an 8% reduction. The difference between the proposed and the default is $2,084, and it's a 1% difference.
So is this going to be a question about what goes in the default, but it won't go in the default budget, but you can put the non-union increases in the proposed budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
The
Gotcha.
non-union goes into the proposed budget,
But not the default
but
budget?
not the default. So in the default, there are no increases for anyone in the default budget.
Other than,
Changes of hours.
but the union contract, so January, February, March.
Right. Well, the rate that they're currently being paid
Yeah,
times the number of hours that they work times 52.
So that wouldn't change, it's just part of what has been
Approved in the
approved,
past.
yeah. Okay.
Under assessing, the budget is the same as the default. So the difference between the proposed and 2018 approved is $7,536. It's a 7.17% increase. In legal, we are reducing legal for down to $75,000 in the main, what we call general operations legal expenses. And I don't have the percentages there. I'm sorry, but there is a reduction there.
One question on, back to assessing.
Yes.
On the revaluation, part of 3-year agreement, it says under contract. Now, is that contract new?
That I have to look at. It was done in 2018. So the plan is, according to the new default items, that's going to come out of the adjusted default budget. But I'm not gonna go back and change any of those numbers
Until you hear.
until I know everything related to it. Then I can do it all at once.
But you mind stating the theory behind it coming out is because it was not voted on?
The previous year. The prior year,
Yeah.
2018,
Yeah,
there was no contract in here for that revaluation. The revaluation, the agreement with them is we're using 30,000 from the trust fund that was left from the last revaluation. And then we had a balance of 7,500 per year for 2 years to do this
Yeah,
last
it's not, the
revaluation.
increase on contracts outside of negotiated contracts that appear as a warrant article that the voters vote on. Any contract for services, the increase, like if it's a 3-year contract, the increase in the second year and the third year cannot go into the default budget.
Right.
It's only what was in the first
and
First
the
year.
theory is because
The
how it was
voters, the
originally.
voters did not vote on it. They did not approve it.
The only way I can get around this, and this is what I'm hearing, so wait till I get all the answers in. This is only from one of the persons that I spoke to, was if I disclose during the deliberative session and during the public hearing that the next year it would be this amount, and the next year it would be this amount.
If it was presented that way.
If it was presented that way. If
So
I
now you
told
have to go
the
back and see
voters-
how you presented it.
There is a couple things that I've been doing right along that I found out was great because we're able to do this. Whenever we talk about the 3% increase for non-union, it's always been disclosed that that's what we're doing. Whenever we included it in the proposed budget. So when the proposed budget is approved and we don't have the default budget, we can include that in the next default budget. So my 3% from last year was disclosed in 2018. So my 3% is included in 2019's default.
But not another additional.
Not another
Not
3%.
another additional 3% in the proposed budget.
Unlike the union contracts.
Right.
It's a one.
Did you follow that?
Yeah.
That's confusing,
Okay,
isn't it?
so using that, the 7,500 is added,
And that is one item that's gonna come out of the
Okay.
default budget.
because it was, that wasn't the contract for services and the contract for that 7,500 we didn't know about last year.
Right, so that one is
Other
one
than they
that's
probably
coming
knew
out.
that there was a contract that was coming up.
The other thing that's gonna change, just to give you a heads up, is the assessing services in the default line is gonna change back to that 56,440. We can still pay those bills. We just have to find it, if the default is voted in, we have to find it in other places of the default budget.
So 60,000 or 64,000 would be a lot.
You're looking at 7,500 and another $67. So those would have to come from other areas.
Okay.
Chamber.
So the other thing that I've heard, but I haven't got answers on from everybody yet, is this BMSI support software. I do not have to reduce it in the default budget, only in the proposed budget. So that is a number that throughout the budget will probably go back to what the previous year was.
I
That's why I
didn't
said-
understand it that way, but I'm me and you're you, so that's the difference.
So when I get ready to get all of the answers together, what I thought I'd do is very much like what I did with this, is I would put you together an answer sheet and say where the information came from.
Yeah, I thought the reductions had to be placed in the.
Not according to what I just got, but that, I haven't got everybody's answer. And like I said, I want to make sure that I have a collaborative of those. Personnel administration, in the proposed budget, we have 3% increase for non-union. Of course, we have the unemployment reduction and the workers' compensation, which is the same as the default. We do have a little bit of increase in postage. Hopefully there will be more activity on sending out letters to individuals applying for jobs, trying to get more correspondence back and forth related to background checks and so on. Employee relations, that budget's been bumped up to $1,500. We are trying to have more trainings going on, and not just department-wide trainings. We want to have more full-town trainings. You know, in today's world, harassment's a big thing, sexual harassment's a big thing. You know, making sure that our people respect each other, respect the public, handle situations appropriately. There's a lot of things happening in today's world. It's not like it was 10 years ago, even. Go back to that again. So the difference between 2019 proposed and 2018 approved is $22,347, 18% increase. The difference between the proposed and the default is $1,882. It's a 1% difference. Planning and zoning, we have 3% for non-union. We've reduced legal. The difference between 2019 proposed and 2018 approved is a negative $2,021. It's a reduction of 2%. The difference between the default and that doesn't look right, I'm sorry. I'll have to check whether that got twisted around. It looks to me like the difference between the default and the proposed is a negative 3,876. It's 4%. Yeah, that's right.
Sorry,
That's
there's
right.
an increase of 1855 as opposed to a decrease of,
Yeah.
but I see why you would.
It
Look at it twice.
caught me a little bit. General government buildings. New in here is a base camp software program for monitoring projects and work assignments. We've increased the custodial janitor services, the 3% non-union. There's no other changes in here, but I do predict at some point we're going to hear about the Bank of New Hampshire space that we currently have. We have not got an answer on whether they're going up or staying the same. At this time, they're $8,100 and have been for about 10 years.
You sign a lease on that one?
Yes. So the difference between the proposed and 2018 approved is $1,374. It's a 1.74% difference. Cemeteries, they normally ask for an addition of 2% in the proposed every year. That's no different this year. So they're asking for $83,500. It's a 1.83% increase. The town insurance is actually factored out based on what they've given me for information on our insurance for this year, and it's $96,500. The number is actually a reduction. We're looking at a reduction of $9,394. It's 8.47% decrease.
And that number would be reflected in the default.
That's not what this person's telling me, but I disagree a little bit with it.
I am going to mark that as a question.
Because I had a question on it, and They are saying that the insurance amount should be the same as the previous year because it's not a contractual agreement. And I disagree with it because I feel it should reflect what I'm seeing coming in as a bill.
And in the previous years,
It's always been.
you have put,
considered-
if it decreased, you put that in the default, and if it increased, you put that in the default.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been doing that consistently over the years. So. like
Is
I
it
said,
your prerogative, or is it, do you have to actually?
I feel it's a contract. If you sign going on to this insurance and staying on this insurance and you get an invoice, you know what it's going to be, you need to put that into the default budget
As is.
as is.
Okay. Okay. I'm just asking if it might be your prerogative that if it does go down, you can actually put that, insert that number in, but you're gonna find out more.
I'm going to find out more.
Okay.
Because I'm afraid if we follow all the rules that they're saying, that the default budget is going to be a lot higher than the proposed budget.
Well, in what they sent you, they said that can happen.
Yeah. And I don't want it to happen.
It's happened before, though.
This has happened before. Advertising, Regional Association. We have an increase on public notices. We are putting notices out there more. We have heard during meetings that there's not enough information going out, so we're trying to make sure that that's done. We have town report publication. We have more web access to our town reports. We have less people coming in and asking for the actual report. Media services, there is an increase. There's an increase to the monthly coverage. We have more activity with the channel. I don't know if it's 2 or whatever it is now, but we seem to have a lot more meetings being covered.
1301.
1301.
Yeah, or 2.
Or
1302.
Really?
Or YouTube.
Oh,
Me
yeah.
too, yeah.
But-
Now, the New Hampshire Municipal Association, North Country Council, I went based on, in the proposed budget, based on 2018's numbers. Other memberships, at the select board's meeting where they reviewed the budget, the work session, there was a recommendation to add $600 in here for chamber membership. So the difference between 2019 proposed and 2018 approved is $8,693. It's a 35.3% increase.
I thought chamber members, if you were a nonprofit or municipality, you got free membership.
No.
No.
Not the case?
No,
I guess we should.
the chamber's increasing us $600 a year for membership?
They're asking for,
They're asking for it, and the selectmen,
have proposed to move it forward to the budget committee in the proposed budget. Other general government, the number's exactly the same. Discussion was in our review of whether to put the contractual amount that we had with Mount Washington Regional Airport in, which is just over 8,000. The selectmen chose to leave it at the 6,000 in that meeting.
so I talked to a representative from the Mount Washington Regional Airport today, and they will be here on the, I think it's the 27th. I don't believe, they're having another meeting next, not tomorrow, but the following Wednesday. And then the following week is Thanksgiving, and many of them will be away. So then we decided to have the 27th. So they will be here on the 27th to provide us information with all the upgrades. They had talked about how they, the landing fees and how they monitor it. So they'll update us on what they've done there.
Karen, excuse me, so the contract with the airport is $8,100 a year.
There was a contract signed quite a few years ago, and it was supposed to be a little over $8,000 a year. And off the top of my head, I can't remember exact amount, but I know it was about $8,253, if my memory serves me correct from years ago. And for the last few years, the recommendation from the budget committee is to keep it at $6,000.
Even though it's a contract.
The contract, even if it's a contract, it has been broken by us paying $6,000, but they have not excluded us, so.
But that contract was written many, many years ago, so the contract is not in effect.
I think that's one of the questions that
They
when
expired?
they come,
I'm sure it's expired.
I think
it
It
was,
would just be auto-renewing.
it was auto-renewing.
Andrew has actually, he mentioned that, but we should probably look at that contract and when they come.
I would like to see the physical contract before we authorize to get money for that.
So, yes, so if you could ask,
Yeah.
please.
Do you want to take the chamber?
We can take the chamber, we don't necessarily have to get kicked out early tonight, but I don't want to hang around any longer than I have to either, so I will ask the chamber to come up, and I'm going to move to the side over here, so if you want to come up as well. Okay.
She's just
Listening, okay, so then if you want to come up here so they can see you on camera better.
Absolutely.
Introduce yourself, some of us don't know you.
Absolutely, and I don't know some of you as well, but I'll do my introduction. My name is Nathan Carroll. I am the Executive Director of the Littleton Area Chamber of Commerce. And I have some information for you. I know you've seen the information that we submitted for the petition warrant articles, but certainly do have that in a more boiled down fashion if you'd like, and also a comparison of the 2018 request that was granted, as well as the difference for the 2019 request as well. So I have that if folks would like that handout. That's easy. Thank you very much. And with regard to the question before, if you feel it's appropriate to, and you need more information about the $600 municipal fee that you were talking about as related to that, I'm happy to give more information. If not, that's okay too.
You have a schedule, right? The size of the business gets charged this much, this business gets charged this much.
It's not necessarily a size, and this year we did change that up a little bit, but basically there are small business rates, nonprofit rates, what we call a general member rate, and then rates for lodging, hospitality, restaurants, and things like that. So it's more the type of business, and the municipality rate has been at $600 for a number of years since we made changes many, many years ago. But that's always been at a $600 rate. But what we've done, as far as my understanding in the past, is sort of considered the town of Littleton as a member. And as I had heard at our previous board meeting recently, that it was put forth to the selectmen to add that to the budget so that it was a paid fee to the chamber to support us in that way versus just doing a complimentary membership.
And do other towns join as well?
Not at this time. However, it is absolutely something, just in terms of our building partnerships with other towns and areas that either have a chamber or do not have a chamber. It is something that we're going to pursue more in the future, not necessarily solely for the dollars, but certainly for the partnerships that can come from that. So. Excellent. Would you like me to just go through everything? Okay, so as we had done previously in 2018, we have two separate requests. So as we classify them, one is for downtown beautification and the other one for event support. Downtown beautification includes the purchase of downtown flowers at 2019 for $4,250. Downtown flower watering throughout the summer is proposed for 2019 at $3,900. It is a $400 increase, mostly due to the cost of that labor and the additional watering that we actually did this year. We always take care of the Main Street stretch and Mill Street stretch where all of our hanging baskets are, and then had a request from the Littleton Coin Company to assist in the watering of all of the boxes at the end of the Industrial Park Drive, with also the potential of there being our assisting with the watering on the boxes that are now on Mill Street, just outside of Schilling in that area. So we did add a little bit more to that area, knowing that people see our watering apparatus that George Dimmick has and want in on that, if you will. And we just want to make sure that there are enough funds to cover that, especially if there is an increase of any kind. So a $400 increase for watering. The Pollyanna Gateway umbrella purchase also falls under that. It's a slight increase to $300 total, simply because of the cost, increased cost of the umbrellas and shipping and that sort of thing, just to cover that cost. Also, downtown pianos, again, those pianos that are out on Main Street for all to use. It covers the tuning, painting, and or purchase of any pianos. Typically, folks are looking to get rid of pianos, so we haven't had to purchase, but they are always painted to look nice and to sustain
Every year
weather.
they get refurbished.
Yeah, for the most part they do. They're always tuned at least twice a year. They're always taken care of before they go out, and then of course when they come in they need a little bit of help as well. Yeah, so a piano sitting outside isn't necessarily the best place for it, but we try to keep them as long as we can. So.
And are you open to new piano donations?
Oh, very much so. Spin-it type pianos are the most, for the most part. I'm not a piano person, but I understand that that's the type that we have that fits actually under the manufactured covers that we have as well. So not large ones, long ones, but short and stout. We would love some new pianos. Yeah, not a ton, just a couple maybe. So in addition to that, downtown seasonal decorations for $1,000. Those last two line items for piano tuning and seasonal decorations have not changed. That downtown beautification request comes in at a total of $11,650.
So when you say seasonal decorations, I think they're always nice. So how many seasons? 4 seasons? How many?
We say seasonal. I think that was honestly just how it had been written previously, but it tends to just be the holiday season, so Christmas decorations.
So the banners fall under that?
Banners might fall under that.
The banners could as well, yes. Thankfully, they've sustained quite a while. Yeah.
And the lights, what's up, the lights at around the tree at the.
Water, yeah. And they assist us with some of that as well. And if we were doing any banner replacement, they would assist us. But typically in the gateway, J.A. Corey has partnered with us to assist to put the umbrellas up and other things.
So I'm assuming that there is a volunteer system as well to keeping our town beautiful, besides what you're asking for. Like J.A. Corps, you said you partnered with them.
Right, and we'll, it depends upon funding that's available in our general funds, whether we are able to pay them or if they do that in kind for us. So there's a number of relationships that we can leverage to make sure that it makes sense for everybody and that we can continue to kind of be the custodian for those things that have fallen under us. So. Yes.
Question, mate.
Of course.
In the packet that we had gotten,
Yes.
there's under the 2018 appropriation funding, it shows for some of these items like piano tuning, a balance of like $5,300.
Right, and I believe that
So
that
that's-
balance had been carried over and kept and held in anticipation of having to purchase pianos or purchase new covers, which are, I don't know the total cost on them, but they are very expensive. They're metal fabricated and have, as you might remember, the printed cover all along the outside and all that. So there's a significant cost to those. We've been lucky that we haven't had any break or haven't had to purchase any additional, but may in the next year or so with just the condition of things currently. So.
Okay, so you're building up a reserve for some
We
of
are.
those accounts.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So that takes care of the first request, and the additional request for event support is for the gathering of the jack-o'-lanterns for 2019, $1,755. It's a $100 increase. Again, just keeping up with costs of items and things like that, shipping and all of the other pieces that are kind of consumables in that way, whether it's pumpkin carving equipment or candy or candles, things like that. So all of those pieces that add up at the end of the day. And then the Christmas parade staying at $1,000, as was the request in 2018 as well. And again, just to support that effort to allow us to do more marketing and advertising to make folks aware, especially in Littleton, but in the surrounding area, of that tradition. So, and that's a total for those two events of $2,755.
You have a fund of $5,200, is that right? That you now have? You have cash set aside of $5,200. Was that the right figure?
Well, that
The
was
reserve for pianos?
It's 5,300.
Right.
If you had to purchase one, these would not be new by any means, but the best buy, $400 or $500 maybe.
That sounds
So you'd have
reasonable.
enough to buy 10 if you had to. Is that a lot to have in reserve? Whereas you would have to request it must, but first of all, let me say this.
Mhm.
I think they do a great job. Everything on here, I thoroughly agree with. I'm just thinking about having that cash out there.
Mhm.
Could it be used to maybe not ask as much, but I'm not asking, I mean, as a supporter, I'm just asking, because I think.
No,
it's a
I think
wonderful
I think you have a valid point. We by no means are building up a reserve for anything beyond our piano tuning and what that warrant article verbiage states, but I think what it has been is that we've requested that over time, used a portion of it. The beginning of the season, I think our bill was around between $700 and $800 for tuning for the Chuck Slaughter's time
We have
and all of
that, we
that.
have that here.
750.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't want to do anything that would throw this off track.
No, but I completely see your point, and
you might could reduce it, but
yes,
still,
We're always looking for the yin and yang of all of this. We want to be supportive, but
Right.
yet,
Right.
if you do have a reserve, we want to see that reflected in some of the.
and I'm not saying use the whole
Sure.
reserve either,
Sure.
whatsoever.
okay,
Because that's what reserves are for.
Right.
But maybe is it beyond what you really need?
understood. And honestly, because of my short tenure at the chamber, I don't necessarily have the history to say this is what things have cost in the past. I can certainly get that information if the committee needs that or needs additional supporting information. But I know what I know at this point, and we could very well make a change in the future to better reflect a need.
Well, I think the question is before you. We're not going to vote on this tonight.
Mhm.
The process is that we hear all the budgets and we hear all the requests for the petition warrant articles, and then we take a vote.
Sure.
So I don't want to hang this out
Okay.
to basically get a no vote, but if you could talk to your directors, board of directors, and look at your cost on that and see if there's an adjustment that can be made. Am I overstating it? Does everyone
No,
want?
I think that's good, because just looking at here, they've got a balance of over 10,000 under, for 2018 town appropriation funding for these beautification items, which, I mean, they're all great, but we just, I think we don't want to, if we're building a big, reserve, it might be a little, heavy.
Understood, and I understand also that if we were to be responsible in our request, that it could also benefit other organizations in the sense of their being able to ask for a little bit more. So we'll certainly be.
Take a review.
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely,
thank you.
yes.
The cost of
Okay.
piano tuning is between $700 and $800 a year, or per tuning session?
Per essentially, well, what it is, that bill in the beginning of the year was for his time to put the pianos out in the Main Street area and tune them tune them and repair them to the tune of, I think, 2 visits to Littleton. So that was the early season, and then there'll be another bill this week, as a matter of fact, when they are put to bed, cleaned up, tuned, taken care of.
So the total for the year roughly is?
I would say
it
if
actually
it's,
varies from year to year, Steve.
Mhm.
It depends on the condition of those pianos and how many pianos. I mean, sometimes, some years it's been, his time has been even greater than that.
But just as a working number, I mean, this year we've already spent $700 or $800. It's gonna.
It's
And
going
you
to be
could-
at
you
least
could say
that, if
another
not
1,000.
more, than for the second side of it, for him to do, when he puts them away for the end
And
of the
who,
year.
does he store them for us?
We actually are storing them in the Opera House.
right, we'll have a lease agreement
So
with
we
the Opera House to store the
have a
pianos there
fee
for
for
the
that
kids.
associated with it as well. And, yeah, we can definitely take a look at that.
Mhm,
and
absolutely.
But you're thinking, okay, like $1,600 a year is a working number?
I would say that I would have guessed more 2,000 a year.
Okay.
That would be fair. And in addition to that, there's hopes to be able to put additional pianos out on Main Street. There's, that's going to increase the cost of maintenance, and then we have more painting, and then we'll have to buy covers if we take that next step with those. So take a look at that.
Yeah, if you would just take a look
Absolutely.
at it, and, I mean, we're here to help.
Sure.
But
No, we
don't
appreciate
wanna
that.
build up reserves.
Yes, no.
We don't cripple style. We don't cripple you either. We just want to be
Right.
economical as get the
I
best bang for the buck.
completely understand. I'm certainly willing to
I've got
take a
a
look.
question.
Yes,
In line with that,
yes.
you should be asking for us exactly what your plans are to pay for this year. So if this is how much you're asking for, then that's what you're gonna spend on this stuff this year.
Right.
The question I got is, the chamber is here to support the town. Okay, the taxpayers are not here to support the chamber. So how much money does the chamber put into all this? This is coming from taxpayers. Other agencies we see, they're showing us that they're asking for $40 a person, it's costing $240 a person. So they're putting money into, along with their request. How much money is the chamber putting into all of these items from the chamber funds? Because that's what your job is, to support the town, not the town support you. So-
In reference to the beautification and event support, you're correct. Our job, our mission really is economic and community development, working with the town and really for our businesses that are members, as well as the community, for community betterment, and which is where this falls to. In terms of the flower purchasing and watering, umbrellas, the downtown beautification request, those funds are essentially what we are spending on those activities. Whereas the event support, we are seeking sponsorship, spending some of our own money in marketing and PR. So the event support is to allow us to do even more with the current budget that we have for those events.
Most of this here, I mean, especially in the top section, those are dollars you are actually spending.
That's
for
correct.
the decoration, flowers, umbrellas.
That's
And then you're throwing the labor on top of that yourself in-house to put the whole thing in motion.
Absolutely,
So
yeah,
this
because
this
there is
is
a lot of back
this is
end
just
stuff.
for the items,
Correct.
especially in the top section. Maybe the bottom section, there might be Christmas parade, that might be a little bit different. But of the 11,650, you're spending 11,650 on those items.
Right, exactly, yes.
Well, I mean, there's a balance showing here, though,
Up to
that
10,000.
you've got, for these same items that have been carried forward. So in this year, it hasn't been spent. And it looks like maybe some of it has been, well, it's saying 2017 carryover. They had, for piano tuning and covers, over 3,800 that were in the carryover. So they're not spending that amount each year.
Right.
according
And
to
I
their
can
own-
absolutely dig
Right.
into that a little bit more
I'm
and
gonna take a look at that. I can't pull it up on my phone. so
I'm
this
not
is-
being rude.
Oh, no,
Looking at
that's
my
fine, and I have it
phone
here
while
as
you're
well if
there,
you
I
need to
just couldn't pull it up on my
Because then the
phone.
other question was $3,800, that's been accumulated over how many years?
right, and I
mean,
don't, off the
it's-
top of my
it's
head, I
It's
don't
one thing,
have
there's
that answer, but I-
$3,800 for 1 or 2 years or 3 years, there's $3,800 from 10 years, then
Right, and that's part of,
I do know that recently the Opera House moved out some of the old pianos that couldn't be fixed that were donated. And we're still waiting to see a bill from the transfer station.
We've just seen that bill
Okay.
and covered that, so there is, that's all squared away and done.
Okay.
So I know that this is going to be a question going forward
Sure.
when we come to vote on this. And so I think maybe if you could get back to us and
Absolutely.
see if there's any adjustments here. I hate to sound, that way.
No, it's your job, and I appreciate that. And what we'll do is just take a look at, as you had said, the history of that balance. Is it 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And the spending for that, for a period that we can take a look at as well, and just make sure that it makes sense, and make sure that it's not just an extraneous number as well, that it is
Well, I think-
more in line with the actual spending.
I think the other question is, we're always concerned that these reserves get thrown into a general fund kind of situation. And here we are, I think we have in the past, as a budget committee, looked at these items and said, this is the way we want to help support the chamber. These are things that we think improve the community, the flowers and things, and attract tourists, and makes it nice for the resident. But if we see too large of a reserve, then we don't want it to go into a general fund. So anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I'd like to see what your costs are on every one of these items. For example, the flowers, $4,200. That's how much, if we give you $4,200 this year, you're gonna spend $4,200 for flowers.
Yes, sir.
But how much cost are you putting into maintaining and keeping those flowers and putting them up? What's your labor cost, what's your expense? Because the chamber should have some expense here besides the taxpayers. It shouldn't be 100% on taxpayers to support just a quarter of a mile of downtown.
One of the most picturesque downtowns in all of New England.
It's still, there's a whole lot of taxpayers paying for that quarter mile.
I understand.
Okay, and this is the year, I don't know if any of the other agencies, they have talked about it, they're seeing significant seniors on fixed incomes because the majority of the population in Littleton this year is seniors on fixed income. So you've got a lot of people paying for those flowers, those umbrellas, those other things for tourists to come and take a look at who aren't supporting it at all, supporting these items. So I want to know how much the chamber is putting into the cost of each of these items.
I think, one of the things that we did in the past, last year, I remember this discussion. You and I had this discussion.
Right, because I think the chamber's got some expense.
Well, I think if we see the chamber as just a total
Cost.
standalone entity, but it's really all of our business owners, and this is really why I think we do contribute to this part of the chamber budget, is just to kind of soften what the businesses do around town for the community. And that's my take on it, and I think that's the reason why I support this too. I not only like it because I'm a flower person, but I do think that this is a way that we help our business owners as well.
And I also think that when we have a nice downtown, everything on this I'm very proud of. It maintains our property values, which helps seniors. I'm way over a senior, which helps when you go to retire or when you need those funds for assisted living. These things help make Littleton the attractive town it is, which maintains our property values. If we had a shabby downtown, our property values would drop.
Right, it would.
So there are, what you have to say is very valid, but there are some other ways we have to look
Think
and
about it.
do that.
Yeah, but I'm also concerned about this overall budget because everything we've seen here so far, we won't see one department actually drop cost. Everybody else is up 7, 8, 9, 14, 23% for a department. So we're looking at a significant budget here this year.
Yeah,
That we've got to make some serious decisions where we're going to spend the taxpayers' money this year.
I was taking note of that too, but right now we're on the chamber.
Yeah.
And if you could just review it, and
Of
if
course,
there's anything
yeah.
else that you need to share with us tonight.
Are you here to speak at all about your overall financial? I know you're how long have you been on board?
Since April of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your overall financial picture, I mean, I know obviously you made a significant investment in the Opera House several years ago.
Right.
And I know that didn't quite work out the way that was anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
And that you don't have to talk about this at all tonight if you don't want to, but I didn't know if there was any, obviously there's a collective sense in terms of how, moving forward, how you're going to be addressing some of those situations, or?
We don't have a public plan necessarily, or a plan that we've shared with membership yet, but essentially it's my duty as the executive director, of someone who cares about this town and this region and the organization, to make sure that we are a sustainable organization from the very foundation of the almost 100 years of progress that we've had, to make sure that we're standing on that foundation, that we are diversifying in ways that we need to, and that we are a relevant organization for our members, for our communities, and that we are taking care of everybody that we are charged through our mission to take care of. And yes, you know, finances are not always an easy thing, obviously, we know that. And it is my job every day to just make sure that I do everything in the best interest of the organization and the members, and that's why I wake up every day.
Because, I mean, it always goes without saying that, I mean, obviously, if we look at your overall budget is roughly how much a year?
In the range of 140,000 or so, depending.
Yeah, so anybody obviously just putting it in very common labor terms, 2 town employees are going to cost you $140,000 a year. just for the 2 employees without doing anything else. So, I mean, obviously, you've been successful traditionally at leveraging, you know, your budget into a much larger impact.
Right.
Well, not to be, you know, I mean, obviously your point is certainly a very valid one. I think,
of course,
as we've been going down, looking at the various departments, that it's always hitting us. But I mean, I guess my basic approach is to the chamber has been, if we ask the town of Littleton to do what you're doing, it would be much more expensive.
That is true. Yes.
Well, appreciate all that you do, and but again, just yeah.
No, I think it's
She's shaking her head.
I think it's a very valid point, and we will absolutely we owe it to you know, taxpayers of Littleton to take a second look at that, to understand it a little bit more, and then present some additional information to support that,
Definitely.
Regardless of which way it goes.
And as far as the questions you've heard here, you know, what we're asking for this year, mostly through Diane's initiative, is a more comprehensive, fact-based, you know, and obviously when some of the numbers, maybe sometimes in the past there was some general numbers thrown out, well, now we're asking for a little better structure with those, which is nothing
right. And we are very, very open to doing things more by the book, if you will, doing things more to, you know, fine tune, and just making sure that everything again makes sense.
Yeah.
So absolutely, we'll come back with some additional information and share that with you.
Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
All right. That's proud of you.
Okay, we'll keep going.
Now that we gave you a break, you offered the break, and I thank you much for that.
They're here,
Yeah.
we should utilize that time, take care of them, and then they don't have to be here all night and not get in, you know, for any conversation. Police department, we're on page 16 of 46. We have a 3% increase for non-union employees. We have a reduction to the travel reimbursement because we have an admin car this year. So our different individuals will be able to use that versus being paid mileage.
So we have an admin card. Can you give me a little bit of information on that?
The piece that I have is one of the older cruisers, and it's acceptable enough to drive on the road, and it can be used by any department once the signage is taken off the outside of it. The town will have it registered and insured, but there'll be a sign up so it can be used by anybody going to training to hopefully
Any department.
any department will be able to use it to go to training or go to legal meetings that have to be
But
done.
not just within the police department.
Not within just the police department.
It's kind of a unique approach.
It's a good way to use a vehicle that has life left in it.
They won't be worth $2,000.
We're not
Yeah,
getting a
well,
huge amount of money when we sell vehicles. We
Right.
might be lucky to get 1,200.
Right,
The most I think we've got over the years, the last 5 years, maybe 2,000.
yeah.
And this way, this car is enough, I wouldn't say to go into a police chase, but it's enough so we can trust it to go somewhere and get back from there. So a little bit of savings, we hope. Under training, we have prosecutor training that has been bumped up. There hasn't been any training there, serious training for quite a while. And the police chief feels there needs to be some training put in there. DARE conference, there is an increase there. Uniforms, that's the same number that's in the default.
Karen, excuse me.
Yes.
Is because there's no active shooter training, none this year, is because he did it last year?
They actually have been getting active shooter training through our insurance company.
Okay.
They have a simulator that they actually can come to our police department or to the school during the summer, or our police officers can go to the insurance company and do active shooter training there. It's different to watch. I haven't had the opportunity only to see it for about 15 minutes, but it's something that it's good experience for our
Well,
officers.
it's difficult to watch for us lay people.
Moving on to telephone communications, we do have a slight increase in the 911. We've removed off the proposed budget e-alerts. Under data processing, we have the same number that's in the default. All the way down to electricity, we have, and I noticed the spelling's not right, expected 11% increase in electricity. The heating fuel is the same. The water, we have a slight increase in the water, and sewer is the same. Down to dues, we do have increases in a couple of the dues, membership dues. Under general supplies, we have a reduction in evidence preservation. We have a little bit on supplies on hand, so we won't need as much. And you continue on to the next page, the equipment purchase. We do have portable AED, which is new. We're trying to make sure that every vehicle we have for the police department has an AED in it. We have had one or two donated so far in the last couple of years. Media storage, we are adding to the media storage as more and more activity happens and more pictures are taken. We have to increase our space in order to provide for that. There's an increase in cost in TASER.
Did they get that scanning system?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask
We
you about
are
that.
Data
working on that. We actually have a demo the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was the municipal record retention system last year. It was supported by the town. It was $23,000.
And if we don't get it by the end of the year, that money will be encumbered, so we'll get it the next year. We have two people that have submitted their information from our RFP that was put out there for documentation. And we're having a demo by one company the week of Thanksgiving, and I hope a demo the next week, so we can make a decision on which company we want to go with. And certain departments are going to this demo, so it's not just the police department, because it's going to be utilized by more than one department. The police will use it first, And then from there, we'll move on to other departments.
Is there any contract or anything reoccurring like, throughout every year?
On that
Yeah.
piece of equipment, I'm not sure at this time. So we have a camera program, which you will need to speak to the police chief about. He wants to replace his body cameras. It's a 4-year program. I can't tell you the details about it. So.
And will that be a special warrant article or?
No, the plan is to put it in the budget
Okay.
and carry, if the proposed budget is voted on and it's carried over, it will be in the next year's default.
So he could tell us about this at the proper time.
Yeah, if you request to talk to him.
We do.
Yes.
I thought you would.
And basically, Karen, we're swapping for expenses, the radio budget from last year for the cameras for this coming year.
Yes, and there was a decision by him not to go with the radios
Yes.
last year because they weren't quite meeting the standards that they had first talked about. You know, a vendor can present something to you, and once you do more research on it, you may find
Or even use it.
that it's not what you're really looking
Do
for.
we usually, excuse me, I'm sorry.
So did we not spend the $9,000?
We did not
We
on the
didn't, we
cameras.
haven't, and we're.
We used it toward a match toward the ATV that was purchased by the police department through a grant.
So that was a switch.
That was a switch.
We're gonna be patrolling our ATV trails now?
I hope so, and I hope that they are able to use it for other purposes, rescue, you know, say on a mountain somewhere, or
Okay, so the $9,000 that we had for the
I can't,
radios, we didn't buy the radios.
we did not buy the
We bought an
radios.
ATV instead,
Yes,
and moving forward, what could have been a $9,000 expense. Business says 3-year plan update radios, so this year would have been the first year of that plan?
this,
18?
2018 would have been the first year.
First year.
And when he looked at the radios, they were not meeting the needs and the standards that he was originally told they were going to.
Just a question about procedure. Okay. So when I was on the school board, we would have a line item. And that line item usually listed something particular. And if we did not have an ATV in a line item, we did not get an ATV. So my question is, how does this switch out?
The town manager can make a decision on a field purchase. The line is actually equipment purchase field.
Okay, so it's under the general category, and even though you're listing these items, it's not considered a specific line item.
Right.
That was my procedural question,
Yeah.
basically. You've said it better than I did, so thank you.
The selectmen accepted the grant and authorized the use of matching funds.
So what about the radio needs? I mean, we still have that out there that they need to be replaced at some point?
We do, and we're finding that the radios that really need to be brought forth should be brought forth for not just the police department, but for the fire department and the highway department as well. And we're going to try to attract a grant to cover the cost, because in total, I believe they're looking over $100,000.
These are body radios?
No, they're regular radios. This
In the
is
car,
not the,
automobiles.
yeah, and the ones that they carry.
I
It's just
see.
the whole two-way radio
The whole
system.
The whole system.
They want to sort of integrate them and replace them all as a town.
Wide project for all
project.
safety. And you really need to speak to the police chief.
Yes.
I can't answer.
Well, that is important, because during 9/11, some of the responders couldn't talk to each other.
And I think that might be happening a little bit at this point, is some of the correspondence isn't getting as clear as it should on the same channels.
They've been working on that for a while too, because there's been that's been an ongoing issue.
Well, since Carl Drager is what brought that up initially.
So,
But no highway or fire, but just North Country law enforcement couldn't talk to each other. And also not with Vermont law enforcement.
I think in the past, you know, there is certain people that didn't feel that highway was a public safety, and I'm not saying this people in this room, but they are. They're the first ones out there during a snowstorm. The rest of the vehicles may not be able to pass if the roads aren't clear.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that they.
no, we're gonna
So
say,
we need to get everybody on the same page.
There was also a presentation to the select board, I believe, by AT&T, something about like a rescue link or North.
And that could be part of the grant as well.
Selectmen maybe.
another procedural question. So you said, if we have questions, we can request. So in the past, usually the police chief would be here, sitting here with that. Is that changing this year? So the fire chief won't be here for the fire department and all of
Not
that?
at the initial proposed, going through the proposal. What we'd like is, once we get through the proposed, to get a list of departments that you want to speak to. Because you may not want to speak to every single department. You know, the tax collector department is self-explanatory, why there's a difference there. You may decide you won't want to speak to that. So we would arrange with department heads to come in here during specific meetings for you to review with them and ask them questions.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
We should talk to certain department heads just for clarification, and I think it's important.
I mean, just given the size of highway, fire, and police, I would think that we would,
I would think that.
we'd like to have a half an hour with each one of them. And it obviously gives them the opportunity to kind of paint their picture too.
Let's move on to
Good
the next
point.
page
Good
before you
point.
make that answer.
Okay,
Okay.
2020. Yeah.
So page 19,
yes.
the difference between 2019 proposed and 2018 approved is $54,144. It's a 3.9% increase. And remember, in 2018, there was a warrant article for a full-time officer to be added to the budget. So this 54,000 is not the full cost of a full-time officer. So there has been some changes within the budget, some reductions.
Right, but I think having the people here as we were going through it, so I'm trying, this is kind of a new year, a new way of what we're trying to do the budget process. So my point would be, I don't know how it's going to work out and how you definitely want it to work out, but if we had the department's heads here at the time that we're going through each section, it's fresh. We have that ability to ask the question, and because I can't remember what I thought last week. So, you know, so I think it's critical to have them here at the time that we're going through.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
It does, but can we finish going
Yes.
through the proposed, and
Yes.
then you come back and tell me, because you may not want, we can go back through the proposed one more time when they come in.
Or we may even just submit beginnings questions so they can be prepared for them.
Yeah, well, you can, but I kind of, there are certain ones, police,
Highway.
fire, highway, we want them here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we necessarily want to go through those
Right, you don't,
departments tonight? or
we don't
move
have
on
to go
the
through
ones-
those, yeah.
We only have 10 minutes anyway, so.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
But
there's
no,
no point doing it twice. if
Yeah.
Right,
Those are the
exactly.
ones you're saying
Yeah,
that you
so,
want them to
Okay.
come back.
So do we want to move on to
What-
dispatch?
What about some of the other departments? You know, this is only a 3% increase, which is reasonable for a budget increase of 3%.
Yeah.
23% department is not reasonable. Maybe that hit should be.
Yeah, but the 23% row sometimes could be 23% on a much smaller number.
But it's on 54,000, this one's on 54,000. That's the
No,
difference right there.
3% on $1.8 million.
It's a bigger number.
No, it's only 54,000 difference. There's only a difference of 54,000.
3% of $1.8 million.
Well, right.
So Ralph, why don't we do it this way, because we only have 10 more minutes. I think the bigger departments, we also like to just hear from them and you know, how we're moving forward.
Right, what's coming up.
What's coming up and maybe
Yeah.
to ask, you know, how did it work out on the stuff, you know, last year we just talked about one of the, you know, what we were just talking about for the police department. So why don't you go through and note those departments that you think, you know,
For all of us to do.
for all of, everyone to do that, and get it to me and we'll talk.
I wanna see the library, I wanna see the opera house in here, I wanna see the community center in here. I want them to explain to us why there's budget money, and are they gonna put a warrant article out there that states that. So, they all came last year, and I wanna see them all here again too.
I already have a list of some of the warrant articles,
Yeah,
but I need to go back through it one more time with Andrew to make sure that we're
are we
on.
behind the ball game here this year for some reason? Did you
No,
see
we're
that?
ahead of it.
We are, 'cause it seems like we're running out of time.
No,
Okay.
agency-wise, I don't think we have any more. to
I
come
have a
forward.
list. Immanusick Community Health, I didn't see where they
Okay.
might have come in.
Okay.
Birch House, I have not heard anything from
Well, they
them.
covered that last
They
week.
covered
Those two
that.
were covered
They
last
did?
week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't the Ammonoosuc covered last week?
Yeah.
Yeah,
first
they're
one.
all,
Okay, they're all
yeah,
covered.
I've gone
Okay.
through all of them, and,
Cable caregivers, we haven't even seen a petition from them yet, or,
see,
Their
what
documentation.
Seal sent me, and I went
Oh.
through today, and those are the ones, I don't have any more on here, but if I need to contact more, I need to be notified. I've gone through all the ones that Seal
The
gave me,
ones that-
okay?
I didn't know she gave you a list.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And Ralph, also remember on the police department, you know, there will be a union contract, which will,
I realize, right.
Yeah.
So we'll talk when you get in touch with me when you have time, because I know that you're crazy busy. So-
Working on FEMA right now. We are hoping to, a storm happened in 2017 that we, between the fire department, the highway department, mostly the highway department, are trying to recoup some expenditures on. And we're hoping to recoup on one end of it, maybe $8,000, but another end of it, maybe $150,000. And the possibility with even more if we can get a grant related to the Dells. So,
you have to recuse yourself.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have to recuse, I was like,
No, no,
she could really help.
I'm just kidding, man.
And I know we keep talking, I know for years we keep talking about grants, but grants have matching funds, and matching funds build up. And taxpayers, they're responsible for the matching funds. So we gotta know before these grants go out, what kind of matching funds.
we are trying to make sure that we do have some funds for matching funds. We may not know
Call it quits.
today that 6 months down the road, we're gonna have a grant come in. We may be offered an opportunity to apply for a grant, and we're not even sure sometimes for 6 months that we're gonna get the grant.
Didn't the taxpayers used to have to approve all that? If you wanted a grant, the taxpayers had to have some say in it, whether they're gonna pay back.
The selectmen have a public hearing if it's over $10,000.
Right.
That's all. The selectmen has the authority to accept and expend those funds. And I only know of one grant that was ever denied in all the time that I've worked for the town.
Otherwise, we have special meetings left and
All
right.
the time, yeah.
For grants.
So I think we're going to kind of
Table everything.
table this for right now. However, I do have a request, and you probably already have it. You usually have a schedule of when all of our payments
Yeah.
completed. If we could get that,
Yeah.
I would appreciate it, and that's really critical, I think, for this year. And I didn't see an in sheet on this. Is there an in sheet, like what is the total budget? Where is
At the
it?
beginning.
Very
The
beginning,
very beginning, oh, no wonder.
Yeah, yes.
4 of 46 and 5 of 46.
So a 6 point overall,
Yes.
A 6.38%?
Yes.
That's, and again, the procedure this year is a little bit different. The select board has actually seen their budget
Yes,
before
they
they brought
have.
it to us,
Yes.
but they have not.
They only have 2 recommendations to the changes that were in there from the town manager. They had 2 items that they added, both were $600. One was in the Conservation Commission, because we were asked to add in $600 for printing of brochures, because they need more brochures now. And then the other one was the $600 for the membership.
And
Those were the only recommendations, and they're only recommending that you look at it, they've reviewed it, and they want to see what you have to say.
And
about
then
it.
they'll finalize what they, yeah.
And then have the hearing and then finalize.
Then they
it.
have the
Yeah.
hearing and then finalize it again.
It's a process.
But
But no, it's good to know that, you know, that they have it in here, that they've already seen it. And the warrant articles that will be coming forward to us, you know, just to give us all a general idea of what our schedule is. So the warrant articles will be presented to us after we get done with this. And
I can kind of tell you some of them at this point, if you'd like a little brief. Public Works is looking for a street sweeper. The plan is to do a 5-year loan on that, or lease. They also would like an F-550 dump truck with a plow. It's the smaller truck, not the 10-wheeler. They are hoping to do a 3-year lease on that one. We have in here for an EMS study. We haven't got the dollar amount at this time. We're looking at the Opera House for a heat exchange, a unit. We also are looking for replacing some boiler problems that we're having, and we've got an estimate of about $11,000 on that
at the office.
at the Opera House. The heat exchange, the estimate we are given now is $9,100. So we're looking at about $20,000 there. We additionally want to keep up with continued improvements. Some of the items that we've talked about are cameras, which we've talked about for many years. Something always seems to come up. We also talked about refinishing the hall, the floor, because it really could be sanded down and refinished. Transfer station, we're looking at about $20,000 there, and that's again their continued repair, replacement, buying bags of their normal warrant article, and they plan on using their funds for that. They're looking also for a new oil crusher, which is $16,000 is the estimate we're getting for that. Filter crusher, oil filter crusher.
$16,000.
16,000 is what I was given for a number. You'll have to talk more with Brian on that one. There's talk of possibly a warrant article about a dog park. I haven't got all of the details on that. There's talk about a playground equipment, to replace solid tape playground equipment. And there's talk that there may be some funds that will be coming to match some of the funds that are put up by the town for that. We always have our unexpended Conservation Commission. We are talking for road repairs right now, and please don't hold me completely to this, but the talk is Crane Street, and we're looking at about $300,000.
Crane Street.
Crane Street.
Okay.
So I'm kind of with sticker shock with Ralph over here. So we have a 6.38, and I don't know what the warrant articles will look like compared to what was asked last year. But going back to understanding, this was a question that was asked of me, our debt. What is our debt like? And understanding our debt, because we have a school proposal possibly before us. We'll see what happens this year. And people want to understand the debt. So some of these things that you just mentioned, you said are a 5-year. So as we look in here and see a 6.38, it's on things that we basically voted on last year that are now in here. So we actually really need to understand how our debt is working, how much every year, how much it's going out. So I know that you're gonna make a great chart for us
I already
to
know that.
understand.
Yeah.
You did last year also.
So, I appreciate that, okay?
I will give you an updated fund balance information. I better give you a couple pages to pass around. So what? And this is according to the most recent audit. Fund balance, we have $584,986. We voted to use from unreserved, $57,650 in 2018's vote. So we have an estimated fund balance of $527,336.
Basically, which then assumes that we didn't accumulate any additional this year.
No, we didn't.
I said I was thinking that it was going to be 50,000, but I didn't consider the fact that we were taking, I didn't take note that we were taking out some for 2018.
Yeah, but even if we hadn't taken that out, we still would have just stayed even.
Pretty close.
I mean, within a few
I
thousand.
mean, you asked me to come in with a tight budget. I try to do the best job I can. And
So why is there no surplus?
No, I think you do very well, and I think that's the other thing, that we do have such a tight budget, and what we do with our fund balance at the end is critical too to maintaining future health.
And my recommendation is not to use any of it to reduce the tax rate.
Absolutely.
And not to offset any purchases in this proposed budget, because that's how we use up our fund balance.
Well, there was warrant articles last year, and I know one of those warrant articles that used 25,000 of fund balance was for a fire truck grant, where we were going to try to get 475,000.
Yes.
So you weren't going to raise and appropriate.
That is a very valuable use of fund balance.
But that hasn't happened.
The grant has not been approved. We are resubmitting it. We are going to encumber that 25,000. So if we get it next year, we have that available. So, you know, the money's already there. We're just setting it aside.
Well, I don't know how many people have to go vote, but I think Steve's clearing his neck because he wants to go vote.
So you have the updated figures?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, and next week we have Thursday.
Thursday, day after tomorrow, 4 p.m. at the high school. No, the SAU office. SAU office.
And then next week, I don't have any agencies unless you.
I will plan on bringing some individuals from some of the departments.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Motion adjourned. So moved. Thank you.